Okay. Welcome to the new Athletics for Life podcast, episode 13. It's good to see you, CD.
Good to see you, Jeff. Today we're going to interview Danny Clarke. He's the head athletic director with ACAMIS. Both Jeff and I have had the opportunity to meet Danny on a number of occasions and talk to him regularly, both as Corona was starting to take shape and then now as it's a much bigger part of our lives.
Yeah, we're very happy that Danny's here on our podcast today. We've known him for several years now. It's great to share some ideas with him, to talk with him how he's doing down in Nanjing. So we're going to the interview with Danny. Much better. Good to see you, Danny.
Good to see you too. Wow, you both got exactly the same background. How is that? What have you? Is it a?
It's all for the podcast. It's all to look good.
Yeah, nice stuff.
And we got a special custom shirt on, Danny. So we're all.
Oh,
College Pro made shirt for us for our podcast. So yeah, we're doing well. How you doing, Danny?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm all good.
How's life in Nanjing? Is it somewhat normal, or is it? Are you shut down? We're currently shut down. We don't have any students in the classroom yet. No sports. So how's life there?
Yeah, well, we were. I mean, up until Christmas, it felt like it was absolutely back to normal. We were full-on program. We were part of ACAMIS volleyball, the only one in China, and everything felt it was kind of back to what it should have been. We were all ready to go on ACAMIS basketball, and then we got back from Christmas, the winter break, and boom, suddenly some cases are popping up again in China. They're worried about travel at Chinese New Year, and everything is the government are just saying, right, okay, you need to slow down. You need to restrict access to the campus, to your parents again. You need to not travel out of Nanjing. So things have taken a few backward steps over the last couple of weeks, unfortunately.
Yeah, we were somewhat normal up until November. We were getting on the path back to normal. We had a volleyball tournament, and then shortly thereafter, we got a few cases here. And Mongolia hadn't had any cases other than the ones they brought back, and then they shut everything down. And we've been shut down since then. Supposed to open up sometime in February, but that's just pending another, government-issued shutdown. So we'll see.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, now all we can hope for is that we get through Chinese New Year okay, without any cases, and then government relaxes again a little bit. More and more people get vaccinated. And then, I think from then it should be okay, but it's taking a lot longer than I expected it to. That's for sure.
Yeah, so because the last time I saw you it was in Nanjing, but we were in Shenzhen January last year, and we were actually back 2 weeks before they closed the borders here. So I don't even want to imagine if we were still there by that time. But it has not been normal since last year, January, actually. So, yeah.
In fact, we were fortunate, weren't we? Because we got our basketball tournament in. Most basketball tournaments were scheduled to go after Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year was so early. And of course, that was that. No more basketball tournaments. So we were actually one of the fortunate in that. I think we were 2 or 3 basketball tournaments only across ACAMIS.
Yeah, and we had actually basketball planned here in 2 weeks. So hopefully 2022 we can make that happen, Danny.
Yeah. I was even so optimistic that I put it on our school calendar as a fiction. ACAMIS basketball in Mongolia, but no, it's not happening.
Yeah, Danny, we just want to talk to you a little bit today, just about kind of your background and how you got to where you are now. You are an athletic director yourself, and now you're the head athletic director of ACAMIS. So if you don't mind just spending a couple minutes maybe talking kind of about who you are, where you're at, and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So Like a lot of athletic directors, I started off life as a PE teacher. Was working in the UK for a couple of years down in London, and then decided at that point I met my wife, and we decided we wanted to travel. We went to Kenya. I was head of PE out in Kenya, and then we came back from Kenya, had our first kid, and I decided that I was going to actually leave schools and go into sports development. So I moved into sports development, worked in Glasgow City Council, working as a youth sport development officer, working with schools, but in the local council, and then got a job as a sports development officer with what was then English Sports Council, now Sport England. So worked down at Crystal Palace for 2 or 3 years, and then moved to be a manager of a sports partnership in Sussex in South England. And that was kind of like, that was to do with lottery funding, English lottery funding at the time. So they were funding various kind of youth sports projects. So my job was to basically develop a sports development plan for the county of Sussex, East and West Sussex. I was based at Brighton University. I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved my jobs in sports development. It's such a wonderful career for people if they ever want to get into that as a career, and has a lot of association, I think, with athletic director job as well. So I was doing that job and loving it, and then was approached by then the head of high school in Antwerp International School, who was an old friend of mine, and is now actually my current director here in Nanjing, Laurie McClellan. And he suggested that I might want to come back into schools as an athletic director, which is a job actually I'd never even heard of. I didn't know what athletic director was. So he kind of explained a little bit to me and brought me out to Antwerp and, showed me around and things like that. And so we decided to move as a family across to Antwerp. And that was the start of my AD career, if you like, back into PE teaching alongside the AD job. I loved it, very incredibly busy. But I loved the job, and then at that time I thought, right, I'm going to see if I can extend my career into leadership within the school. So my next job after that was head of upper school in a kind of British curriculum school in Qatar. Well, I spent 4 years doing that, but to be honest, I just missed the AD job. So when I got the opportunity to come to China, back to Nanjing, with Laurie again offering me a job here in Nanjing this time, I jumped to the opportunity. So, and here I am. I've been here 11 years doing the AD job, which I love.
Danny, so being from, because when I started, I never heard of the AD job either. Because I'm from Holland, you're from the UK, so that European, we don't know about the AD job. What were some of the difficulties in that transition between your job in sports development to the AD job?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the AD job in Antwerp was it's quite a small school. There was only 450 kids in it, but it was a massive program. A lot of, at that time, homestay stuff. So we were, we had teams traveling and homestaying every weekend. We were hosting almost every weekend of every season. Teams from Luxembourg or Dusseldorf or Hamburg or Amsterdam or The Hague, so it was an incredibly busy program. And for me, I got used to the kind of the looseness of a sports, the kind of where you can basically make your own schedule, particularly managing that sports partnership in Sussex as being the boss, if you like, managing a team of about 10 people down there. And you made your own schedule, and suddenly you're in the school schedule, and it's like, you're teaching now, and then you're doing this and you're doing that. So that was a real challenge for me, going back into school and being scheduled in that way, and also the switch from being an AD to teaching, because they're very different roles. And being new to it as well. It's like I was used to kind of like, as head of PE, you would kind of organize a few sports fixtures here and there as a kind of British style. So this was very, very different. and you had to kind of the management across the whole school and the selling of the program across the whole school, very, very difficult. And that balance between sport and academics.
Yeah, I'm kind of realizing that I'm now at the British School of Ulaanbaatar. Last year and many years before that, I was at the American School. And so the American School is involved in ACAMIS. But the British School is very much kind of the British system. Most of the teachers there are from the UK. And so it's interesting because I'm an American. And so even the other PE teachers weren't quite sure what I did as the athletic director, and just kind of like for me understanding them and for them understanding me, it's been an interesting journey for sure.
Yeah, I remember thinking at the time, athletic director. So I teach half a timetable of PE, and the rest of the time I'm just organizing some sports fishes. That's going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be so easy. And I was doing like 12-hour days every day just to keep on top of it. It's crazy.
So Danny, in this podcast, we try to share the educational-based athletics philosophy. Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy that you have or created over the years in your athletics programs?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely education based. I mean, it's all about learning. That is the number one reason why we do what we do. I always think if students are leaving the school that I'm working at as an AD with a love of sport, with an understanding of the philosophy around fair play and respect for officials, for teammates, for opposition, and just to kind of, to want to continue playing sport beyond their school days, then I think, I've done a good job as an AD. That's my job through the coaches and through the culture of the school in order to try and achieve that. I remember I've been here in Nanjing a long time, and I was here probably about 3 or 4 years, and it was time to kind of develop the philosophy a little bit more. And so we did a really big survey, if you like, to kind of get a feeling, and we kind of asked everybody, the whole community, teachers, parents, students, what are the 3 words that we feel is the most important thing with regard to the sports philosophy, if you like, in the school. And the 3 big words that came up were teamwork, respect, and commitment. So we use that now. So we kind of put it all over our walls. We remind people, it's on all my letterheads, and always reminding the coaches, reminding the players that those 3 things are the things that really matter above all else. Winning tournaments is great. As you remember, of course, when we beat your boys in the final. No,
don't start.
Not that I want to remind you of that. But that's definitely of secondary importance. Ultimately, it means nothing really. What really counts is how we, what we teach these kids. And actually, I worry because sport can be harmful. Sport done badly in schools can be really quite harmful. If it's taught badly, if it's coached badly, if the coach is inculcating the wrong philosophies, then it can put kids off sport. It can really diminish their self-image. It can teach kids to cheat and to kind of try to find ways around. So we need to be really, really careful with what we do with sport in schools and how we manage that. And it comes down to, I think, down to the AD and the culture that they give in the school, and particularly through the coaches. The coaches are key.
Not to put you on the spot or anything, Danny, but you mentioned how beating Jeff in the finals, that wasn't the highlight or anything. Is there something in your, long career that you are proud of as the athletic director, that you do take pride in?
I mean, as I said, I've been here a long time. I think I look at the athletics program here in NIS, and it's by no means perfect, and it evolves the whole time. But I do think that for a number of years now, the acceptance of that philosophy across the whole school is there. People understand my position. They understand what sport is about. They understand the importance of that philosophy. And I do feel that in the majority of cases, we are bringing students out that do have a love of sport, but also understand the importance of sport. It's little things like when I'm in the graduation, grade 12 graduation, and sitting in there, all the students have to have a little blurb about what they remember most about their time at NIS. And so many of them say, they talk about a specific ACAMIS sport that they were involved in and the event that they had. And that's, that every time I hear that, I feel proud. So that's always nice. The other thing, we're still definitely working on it. One of the big challenges I have as an AD, and I definitely haven't found an answer, is the getting more girls involved in sport. And getting more of our kind of Chinese, Korean community involved in sport. It's a constant challenge. And our girls have always kind of underachieved in comparison to the boys. And I remember when our first ACAMIS girls tournament, it was ACAMIS soccer we were hosting. And we had a great football team that year, and the girls went on to win it. And I just remember when they won in the final, I think it was 2-1, they won the final. And that was a great moment for me, because it's the first time, NIS had actually won an ACAMIS girls tournament. And it just felt like a step forward in trying to really develop girls' involvement and girls' achievement in sport.
So, Danny, you've been involved in ACAMIS for a while now. You've been the head AD of ACAMIS for the last few years. Can you talk a little bit about ACAMIS and how you got involved in this specific role?
Yeah, my first ever ACAMIS was in Hong Kong before I even started here at NIS. I was working in Qatar, and the school decided it would be helpful for me to come to an ACAMIS meeting before I came to NIS. So they flew me out in the March before I started the school in August. And so I went there for the first time, and I thought, this feels like a really good organization to be involved in. So I've obviously been to every ACAMIS AGM and conference ever since, with the exception, of course, of last year, which didn't happen. And I think probably about 6 or 7 years ago, the co-chair job came up. I put my name forward, and I became co-chair along with Mike Denif, who was the chair at the time. And together we kind of worked, and we agreed that it needed a restructure. So we started on the kind of restructure and building the idea, because it was ACAMIS, which is growing and growing. At the time when I joined, I think there was about 35 schools, maybe. We're now over 70 schools. And it was becoming unmanageable. The big meeting was becoming unmanageable. So together we planned, and we said, right, okay, let's create committee representatives and have an extra day where we kind of work as a committee, and then take that and make the whole thing a little bit more efficient and streamlined. So we did that. Mike, I think we just started the year that Mike left, which was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. And at that point, I took on the chair role, and I've been chair ever since. Things that I feel important that I've achieved within ACAMIS, certainly creating the philosophy. There wasn't one. There wasn't any philosophy statement, which I think was a real omission. and I was dealing with, every tournament season, I was dealing with stuff that just I shouldn't be dealing with, like ADs and coaches that are just behaving abominably in tournaments. And I'm having to kind of get on the phone to people and talk to people. But there was no guidance there, really. There was no philosophical guidance in ACAMIS. So you probably remember, Jeff, a few years ago, we in fact, CD, how long have you been part of ACAMIS?
Well, I was at ASU since 2013. I wasn't the athletic director, but I was coaching various sports. And so since 2013 in a roundabout way.
Yeah. So you'll remember we introduced the philosophy statement probably 2-3 years ago, something like that. And we just try now keep emphasizing that. And actually, I think it's made a difference. In the last couple of years, there's been very few incidents. A lot more understanding about what it is that we're actually trying to do. Because, as you know, there's a big turnover of ADs, and there's a lot of new young ADs come in every year. They're not quite sure what it's about. They're not quite sure what the philosophy is yet, and I think that's quite helpful guidance to a lot of these young guys coming in.
What advice would you give to those kind of new young ADs coming in, trying to develop a program, put their own kind of spin on it? What advice would you give to those guys?
I think number one, be a role model. Whatever you're expecting of your coaches and what you're expecting of your athletes, you have to model that behavior yourself. Absolutely. I think the AD job is all about building relationships, communication. So you've got to, you got to be quite patient. You want to build your own culture. You want to build your own philosophy. That takes minimum of 3 years. It's not something, you can't just come in and push your way into these things. You got to do it gently. You got to do it gradually. You got to do it through building relationships. So I would say, just take your time, know what your philosophy is, be a role model, build relationships, and, communicate, support your coaches, and gradually, build the culture around what you want.
So Danny, we are in very uncertain times, and we haven't been seeing each other for months now. And normally we would see each other every 4 or 5 months, right? So what are some hopes and wishes for ACAMIS and sports in general looking forward to the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult times, isn't it? And I think it's difficult times. There might be some changes needed within ACAMIS. You do wonder, not just in sports, but around the world, in terms of travel, in terms of how we do things. And I think ACAMIS, we might need to look at how we structure ACAMIS, I think, going forward. Is that old model of, we always, I loved it. I loved the fact that we had teams from the south, teams from us in the central belt, teams from the north coming together to compete. I mean, it's such a brilliant model, and it's great to meet schools and kids from, Mongolia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Macau, whatever. It's such a great thing. But I suppose the question is that sustainable now in our kind of new reality that we have? And maybe it's time to have a discussion about trying to make things a little bit more regional, possibly. I worry about that because, Shanghai have got their own league, Beijing have got their own league, Hong Kong have got their own leagues. We don't want to replicate that. How do we make ACAMIS special, but at the same time make it sustainable? And I think that is definitely a challenge that we're going to have to look at. And I certainly don't have any answers, but it's something we definitely need to consider as we kind of go forward. Because will we get to travel? Will you guys get to travel to China even next school year? Who knows? Will we get to go to Mongolia next school year? Who knows? Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, even perhaps around flying around China. You know, there might still be difficulties even next school year. So I don't know. From me, the important thing is that, I mean, ACAMIS is such I think a great organization, such an important organization. The kids, I mean, I don't know about your kids, but our kids absolutely love it. It's the pinnacle of their sport. You know, my daughter started school here in grade 2. She's been playing ACAMIS since grade 8 in all 3 sports. In fact, 4 or 5 sports some seasons. You know, that's all she knows in terms of sport. You know, ACAMIS is her thing. So when what was going to probably be her last ACAMIS sport this coming weekend, which was ACAMIS basketball, cancelled, she was devastated. She's in grade 12 now. She's about to graduate. So this was going to be it, you know. So she's so upset, and it is, you know, it's such an important part of our students' lives. So we have to find ways to keep it going, and we have to find ways to make it special for students, because it is.
Yeah, definitely. It's the pinnacle of our athletes' sports season, going to China, playing in those tournaments. You know, last year we were supposed to host basketball, and ours was a couple weeks after the Orange Division, after your guys' basketball tournament. So, you know, it was slowly but surely the emails started coming in. Yeah, CD, I don't think we can make it. I don't think it's going to happen. And you know, at the time I had a pretty special group of guys that I had coached from, you know, the time they were in middle school up until now they were seniors, and they were going to host this tournament and show everyone Mongolia. And, you know, that didn't happen. So it was tough. What have you done with your daughter or your coaches or yourself to just kind of stay positive in this time where I don't know is about the only appropriate answer?
Well, I mean, we've been trained. See, for us, we don't really play games in the season anyway. You know, we actually had it. So we were fortunate. We had a volleyball season, and we had an ACAMIS tournament at the end of that volleyball season, which was great. We've had a basketball season. We hosted a basketball tournament, which we do every year. We were full on. We had something like 24 teams come to play NIS just at the end of December there, before the winter break, and that was fantastic. We had a great day of basketball. So we had that, and then we were looking forward, obviously, to ACAMIS basketball. That didn't happen. We played and so we just played like a staff kids game to kind of finish the season off. Is all we could do, a little fun game, and we finished the season there on just last week. And now we're starting the soccer season on the basis that we believe that we will have an ACAMIS football tournament, either as an Orange Division, who knows, maybe in Tianjin, obviously not with ASU, unfortunately. Sorry, ISU, but maybe with the other 5 teams, and if not, then we'll try and run a Jiangsu-based one like we did for the volleyball. So, you know, we stay positive. The kids are training for badminton now. We're hopeful we can get an ACAMIS badminton tournament going. So we set up our teams, we practice, and we stay positive.
Yeah, it's so sad that we are not able to come down. And Danny, you know this, in CD2 is that our kids have to stand in line to get a visa at -40 for like 9-10 hours. So that's how badly they want to go down to China to compete. And it's not about the medals for them. It's to go down and represent their country and their school. So not being able to do that is just devastating to them. And some of them
don't forget shopping, Jeff. They want to go shopping and go to the malls in China too.
Starbucks and McDonald's. Don't forget those two. Yeah. It's just so sad. And some of them, you know, they might not be going down anymore. It's done for them, maybe. So it's a sad story for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for you. I mean, we've actually been really fortunate, so I can't complain. I mean, you know, we got an ACAMIS volleyball tournament, you know, while you guys are stuck, and so, you know, we feel actually pretty privileged to be able to do what we're doing in these times. to be honest. So, you know, we've got no room for complaint. We're staying pretty positive on that front.
Yeah, we're trying. It's tough, you know. We'll see what'll happen when we can actually see our teams and get back in the gym and get on the courts again. And then right now we're stuck at home. So hopefully sooner or later we'll be able to see our kids and just keep an eye towards the future, keep working forward.
I don't envy you. That you guys are doing so well to stay positive in that environment. You know, we're in school where as far as school is concerned, it's normal life. You know, we're teaching and running practices as absolutely normal. There's no change there. We're having debate because they've just recently tightened up. They're saying, oh, we need to restrict the parent access. But even that, you know, I've managed to convince the admin that we can still run activities where parents are coming in to support either lead sessions or, because I'm, as well as the athletics director, I'm also the activities director. So I oversee all the activities. So we run community activities, we run student activities where we've got parents coming and leading different activities as well. And swim programs like Learn to Swim, where the parents need to come in with those little kids to help them in the changing rooms and help them, you know, in the pool and things like that. So they're all still happening, which is great. There is a little bit of nervousness around that, but they're all still happening.
So Danny, we're going towards the end of our podcast interview. What are some things that you still would like to accomplish at NIS, but also personally in your athletics director career?
I'm hoping that my career is slowly start coming to an end, and I can kind of think about retirement in a few years' time. You know, with NIS, I think it's continuing to build and establish the culture. I mean, what I absolutely do not want to happen is for me to leave and things kind of like, you know, move away from what, you know, I've been trying to build all these years. So I really hope that I can put something in place that it's not about me, it's about the whole culture. So when I leave, whoever comes into this role, it just continues to flow and continue to develop. You know, those structures are really important, I suppose. And I've got to make sure, because I think I'm now in a position where my wife is, she'll be head of secondary next year. So we'll be here at least another couple of years beyond this year. And then when she's ready, we'll decide to perhaps move as she wants to look for other roles. So we're here for at least for another couple of years. And during that time, I think probably my goal will be to put in place structures where, you know, when I do leave, transition where basically I go, next person comes in, and it's like it's business as normal. We kind of just continue to do what we do as a school. I mean, I think NIS as a school has got a strong reputation around ACAMIS, and actually around the world. We get lots of applications for all our teaching jobs around the world. It's got a strong reputation as a good school to work at. So, you know, we want to maintain that reputation, and kind of, you know, keep. And when I leave, hopefully that'll just continue to grow and develop. And if I can achieve that, then as far as I'm concerned, I'll be happy. In terms of my own career as an AD, I just love the AD job. I mean, it's such a great job, isn't it? It's like the best job you can possibly have in a school, without a doubt. So my next job, fingers crossed, will also be an AD job. But I'm slightly at the mercy of what job my wife gets, because you know, as she's the one on the career ladder, and I'm just kind of going along for the ride. But hopefully it'll be an AD job that I can get. I'll spend another few years probably at another school beyond this one, trying to do the same as what I've done here, and then gradually kind of move towards my retirement, gently and quietly move towards my retirement. in maybe 6, 7, 8 years time. Who knows?
That sounds great, Danny. We just want to thank you for being on the show. It's great to connect with you again. I know when COVID was hitting and I had to cancel the tournament here in Mongolia, you were a great help. And so I appreciate that and appreciate you coming on the show today. It's been really good.
Great. Thank you very much. You guys are doing a fantastic job with that podcast. It's such a nice thing to do.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. We're trying here, and I'll see you in April, but virtually at the ACAMIS conference.
Yeah, I'll see you virtually in April, and then maybe next year, Mongolia, we might be there.
I will be here, and I'm still planning on it. Yeah, and we look forward to get you guys over here and to show you Mongolia.
Yeah, I love, definitely. If it does open up and we can come, then even though I won't be coaching basketball, I'll definitely be coming with the team. That's for sure.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Okay, Danny, thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay, CD, that was Danny Clarke. Thank you, Danny, for being on our podcast. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to Danny, catching up with him again. The big takeaway for me talking to Danny was his response at the end, just talking about how he wanted to make it easy for someone to take over. He had worked at a school where somebody left. They'd been there a while and kind of left this huge void. And it was hard for someone to fill in. And people definitely noticed that that guy was gone. And, Danny said he wanted to leave and no one noticed that he was there, And so that's kind of the epitome of what we're trying to teach with the show, and that it's not all about one person. It's not about ego. It's not about, necessarily the accomplishments, but the process and people having fun. It's so much more.
Yeah, exactly. And he's such, you can see the passion that he has for the job specifically. And, once back in the day when he got like hundreds of phone calls and emails from people in ACAMIS, he all dealt with that. So he's done a lot for ACAMIS in general, changing the structure, but also for his school. I really enjoyed when he talked about that survey and find those 3 keywords. And he took those 3 keywords and he uses it for everything now. Something, again, that we try to do with the show to promote educational-based athletics. So, yeah, it's great to have Danny on the podcast.
Yeah, and I think his 3 keywords were teamwork, respect, and commitment.
Exactly.
If I remember correctly.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it was great. It's always good to hear people with similar philosophy and how they're implementing it in their schools, and then also how he's sharing that with other athletic directors as part of ACAMIS.
Yeah, and I also think that you need to love the job, and you will get a lot of negativity towards you, of course, from parents, from referees, from kids. But if you love the job and that that you want to do it, you do it for the kids, and you want to leave a legacy at the school. I think that's what it's all about. And yeah, if you've done that, then I think you've done a good job as an AD.
Yeah, most definitely. And he also kind of reiterated what Mike Elson said, leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
He didn't say it in those exact words, but that was kind of his advice for new ADs. Just, stay there 3 years, make it better. And then, he talked about putting the structures in place so that way whoever takes over afterwards can build upon it. That was a great interview with Danny Clarke.
Yeah, so I will see Danny again in April, but online. So it's always good to connect with him in April. He will continue a few more years. I'm happy to hear that, actually, because I think he's a great leader for the ACAMIS ADs. Us younger ADs starting, we can learn a lot from Danny. And especially for me, being from a different culture, he really taught me a lot about how to adapt, because it's not always easy, CD, to adapt to this AD world.
It's an interesting job, that's for sure. All right. So that brings us to the end of the episode. If you haven't already, like and subscribe the video if you're watching on YouTube. Really helps us out. And if you are a new, younger AD or somebody potentially looking to become an AD, a lot of these videos will hopefully help you and potentially give you connections that you could reach out to. As Danny said, it's important to make those connections and collaborate with others. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and you'll get the next video straight to you.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
See ya.